I've eaten an entire deep dish pizza, and I'm ready to talk about stupid shit that nobody cares for. So, more VOD review. I've played some good games, I've played some bad games, but I've decided to take some time to sit down and talk about where I went wrong, and do this in hopes of improving my own play. So, yeah, I hopefully have the replays, well, because of how I record this, I hopefully have the tabs at the top of the window blurred out, simply so that you can't see, which ones I'm going to click on next, because there are some people who might watch this video that have seen some of those replays. But I mean, not that I really care. I don't know. I'm still gonna blur them anyway, because this is my fucking channel. So, this one is a replay that I can't access. I don't know why. It was a really good game I wanted to talk about. I was playing some Ubers, and I found a great player named Oreo Speedruns on the ladder. We'd talked before, and he's a great player. We battled some before, and I ran to him again, and we played a really good game. I ended up clutching out a win. It was very well played by both sides, but I tried opening the replay for this video, and it's not found. I don't know why. Like, I mean, this is from like a week ago, and as far as I know, there's not been some purge of, showdown replays as there was some time ago. I don't know exactly when. I want to say it was like November of last year. I get a drink. My water bottle was all the way across my. I had to reach up to get it. I had to say. I spilled some on myself. I'm just a mess, aren't I? But I'm a well-hydrated mess, which I can live with. So, yeah, I don't get to go over that game. So sad. Now, after 3 minutes of rambling, actually, no, I have one more thing to say. Anyone who recognizes the reference I've made in the thumbnail will understand where this video is going. It's a bit of a thinker. If you know, you know. But, yeah. So, I'm going to show this one first. So, this was a game this was a set I played for the Rands Slam. It's a tournament held as part of the Random Battles circuit where you play. For this, I played Gens 4, 5, and 6 Rand Bats in a best of 3. This was from round 1, and I don't know. I kind of just joined this tournament on a whim. I'm not the biggest Randbats guy, but there was a custom avatar on the line, and I didn't need to team build, so I figured I'll just enter it for fun. Took a couple days to learn each generation of Randbats, and yeah. So this was my round 1, and my opponent was quite a good player. I didn't really have any idea who he was, but he did play quite well. And well, I'm not going to spoil anything for reasons you will soon understand. So this was Gen 4 Ranbats. I felt like this was my strongest generation for sure, followed by Gen 6 and Gen 5. I felt like I was pretty good at all of them, but 4, 6, then 5 that was probably my pecking order for what I preferred to play in the best of 3. So ideally, I would play DPP, then Oris, then go to black and white if it were necessary. So yeah, DPP was first, and so we see Arbok into Bibarel. Now, this Intimidate, I'm only just realizing this now because this was the 23rd. It feels like it was so much longer ago. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago at this point. Whatever. Yeah. So, this Intimidate, I didn't realize it yet, but this Intimidate should have dropped Bibarel's attack by 2 stages because it has the simple ability. It always gets simple in DPP Ranbats. I don't know how it works in like more modern generations of Ranbats, but in DPP it is always simple. And so I guess it's unique to DPP that it only maybe it's not unique to DPP, but for whatever reason Intimidate only drops its attack by 1, and I thought it would drop its attack by 2, which does end up coming into play later, but you'll see what I mean. But overall, I am fine with this lead matchup because I believe I have Seed Bomb. And again, my memory's a bit fuzzy on the Rands Slam set because, well, I didn't know what movesets I had because I didn't make the teams. But I was fine with this. I switcheroo. Right, because I was Choice Scarf, so I was fine with tricking anything, right? Either I reveal something in the back or Bibarel becomes, used goods once it's clicked Curse or whatever. And then, I can just click Gunk Shot on whatever I want. But Scarm comes in and I trick it a Choice Scarf, which is not the end of the world. However, spikes are pretty bad for my team, as you'll come to see. So I go into Dawn Fan, as I believe he does put up spikes. Yes, so I'm going to take this opportunity to Rapid Spin, and he has a Rotom Fan, a Pokemon that is quite annoying for me. It is definitely going to be an issue, especially with spikes up. But, yeah, I have Heatran here to help deal with Rotom. I don't know if I think I had Lava Plume. I don't remember what the rest of the moves were. I think I had it was one of Will-O-Wisp or Stealth Rock, pretty sure. I wasn't choiced, I know that much. So Shadow Ball not doing much because this is Old Gen Steel. And then I take a net 10%, which is very nice. Goes into Bibarel, Lava Plume, no burn, unfortunately. But that is fine because I go into Arbok, and this is where it came into play. I thought that Intimidate would drop his attack by 2, but it drops it by 1 instead. So I thought, okay, it only dropped it by 1. I was kind of confused, but it's okay, whatever. It's still at -1. I get a pretty safe switch, all things considered, and he Waterfall crits me. Which is rather unfortunate because Arbok is nice for its, good level and speed and good offensive coverage. So I would have liked to have that around, but I did not. I did not get to have it around. So he crits through the attack drop and takes me down. I do want to see how much that would have done. Um, Barrel Life Orb to Arbok. Yeah, no, that was... I mean, without a crit, that was never killing. I mean, that wasn't even coming close. I was just going to heal that off, if anything, and then I get to switch into... Or, I get to throw out an attack, or I get to double switch. That gave me a lot more flexibility if he didn't crit, but he did. So now I'm playing on the back foot. So I go into Shaman because it generally looks pretty good. Skarmory doesn't really get an opportunity to roost without giving me just a free turn. So I figured Shaman was fine here. He goes to Skarmory. I Seed Flare, kind of trying to fish for the special defense drop because Skarmory, I believe... Yeah, it runs... I guess I was just fine with hitting into Skarmory because it would have to take that turn to roost. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that sounds like my reasoning. A lot of analyzing these Ranbat sets is going to come down to, like, how well do I know myself to know what I was thinking in that moment? I know myself pretty well, so... yeah. So, yeah. I mean, and I have Rest, too. So with Natural Cure, it's pretty nice. So I get out of there because I recognize this has Brave Bird, and I go into Donphan. And then here I Rapid Spin. Or no, I Stone Edge. Right, I Stone Edge here. Pretty good move. I chunk the Rotom, and, I say, hey, if I miss, whatever, I'm not gonna let this Rotom come in for free. It's gonna have to earn that dodge. So, as bad as these spikes are, I can't really afford to spin here. The Rotom is leftovers, which is pretty annoying for reasons that will later be seen, but yeah. So I go back into Heatran on a Thunderbolt crit. Let's look at that one. Rotom Fan. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter which appliance I choose. And Heatran. Yep. Thunderbolts. Oh. Did not mean to click on that one. Probably blur that out. Let me write that one down. It's like 1250. Blur screen. Okay. Cool. I'll leave that note there for future me. But yeah. 67.3. So So with leftovers, yeah, that was not remotely favored to 2-hit KO. Well, I guess remotely. It wasn't favored at all to 2-hit KO without a crit. So that was pretty unfortunate because I could have gotten a burn on the Bibarel potentially. Just force that damage, keep the pressure up. But now he's just using critical hits to pick off important members of my team, which is pretty annoying because now I have to contend with Rotom Fan without a Heatran, and that's kind of irritating. So I go back into Nidoqueen, and the idea is I put up rocks because I recognize that I'm in a pretty bad position here with double crit. And my most direct way of forcing progress is going to be punishing these responsive switches with hazards. Skarmory doesn't have leftovers, Bibarel isn't healing. I mean, Rotom definitely doesn't appreciate taking rocks, so that damage is really going to stick around and just ideally um, get me closer toward a winning position, to try and just claw my way back to a win here. But Snorlax comes in, and I get out of there. I go into Dawn Fan. He body slams, and he paralyzes. So, you know how I was trying to Stone Edge the Rotom, and you know, get rid of his spin blockers so I can have an easier time against Hazards. Well, now hitting Stone Edge through paralysis is a 60% chance. So I'm sorry, no, I'm doing my math wrong. I'm taking into account modern gen paralysis. It's closer to, come on, I can do this. 26. It is about. It's barely better than 50%. It's 54% chance, I think, assuming I did my mental math correctly. Yeah, so yeah, 54% chance to hit Stone Edge through paralysis. So it is looking rough. He goes into Rotom Fan. I mean, good move for my opponent, really making sure those hazards stay up, not letting those spikes go away, let them keep pressuring me. So I mean, like it's if he were just like getting lucky and playing poorly, and then getting the win, like that'd be kind of annoying. But like at the very least, my opponent is playing pretty well. Like I'm not trying to say like, oh, I got hacked, my opponent played like shit. Right. He is playing pretty well. He just so happens to have a lot of things be going his way. So it was at this point I wouldn't say I was tilting. I was I was going for more desperate plays, because anyone who's taken like life-saving courses knows that desperate people will do desperate things. That was kind of me in this situation, where I was so desperate to get rid of these hazards, and I didn't want to play to the odds of hitting Stone Edge through paralysis, that I just rapid spun on what was very obviously going to be a Rotom switch, and that always should have been Stone Edge, because if it didn't hit or I got full parried, at least I was playing to my best option. If the luck didn't go my way, so be it. But that was a bad rapid spin. That there was kind of the turning point in this match, where I don't like. I wasn't tilting. Again, I wasn't tilting, but I was getting a lot more desperate and not playing nearly as cleanly as I usually would. So that's kind of where this starts to take a turn. And then I believe I go out into Shaman. I go into Nidoqueen. Pretty good. He Shadow Balls. He Spit F drops me and puts me in range of another one. But he goes into Curse Lax. Ugh. It's the amount of GSC I've played. I guess I just automatically associate Snorlax with Curse Lax in my head. I love GSC for the uninitiated. I think it's a great tier. But yeah. So I Fire Blast on the Snorlax. I think, yeah, this was predicting a Skarmory. I do get the burn, which is nice for now, as sort of an interim method of dealing with Snorlax, but not nearly good enough just yet. And then he body slams, and then I don't know why I skipped the turn. Body slams, and then let's see. I think I go into Shaman. Yeah, as he rests. This is another desperate play I made. I was trying to get ahead of the Rotom, because if I could Seed Flare it, then I was in a really good spot. If Skarmory came out, I could go back into Donphan, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to say if that should have been Stone Edge. If he rested, yeah, I got free leftovers even if I didn't hit him. But yeah, staying in was probably better. So overall, I should be playing this Donphan better to my odds of coming back. I should have, because I'm a big believer in like always, I guess within reason, but almost always being able to come back from a tough situation, right? I believe in that. So I think it was very ill-advised to play this Donphan the way I did. I'm not proud of it at all. I mean, for the most part, I did what I could, but okay, yeah. And then he rolls Sleep Talk, and then Body Slam paras me. I mean, like, yeah, this is just kind of stupid at this point. Yeah. Sorry. So, let's see. Yeah, so I have to switch out to get Natural Cure. I wanted to, the plan was to come back in later and click Rest, and try and find some sort of winning angle that way. So yeah, I go back into Donphan. Then I Rapid Spin again, I believe. Yeah. So I guess, theoretically, if I hit both my Stone Edges on the Rotom through Para, which is, I don't even think it was a 30% chance of happening, then, yeah, I could have spun at some point, but I don't even think he revealed his last. Okay, yeah, I did hit a Stone Edge, and at this point I felt kind of dumb because it was like, okay, yeah, I should have just been doing that the whole time. So go into Nidoqueen, Shadow Ball. I do connect the Fire Blast. Yeah, I mean, God, I'm so upset at myself for this. Like, if I just clicked Stone Edge, I mean, I was likely to hit one of them, right? And then, like, I guess at this point it didn't really matter. Because Bibarel just always revenges Nidoqueen, and then I can't really swap to Shaman safely. I don't remember what my last is, but I do get a chance to come in. He rests with the Rotom. Oh, yeah. And then for Alligator, Skarmory, this is Dragon Dance fodder, but he has Whirlwind. And then, yeah, I think... Okay. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, so he Brave Birds with the Skarmory. I do actually live, and then I Air Slash, so... Yeah, and then Blaziken comes in. I mean, talk about, dealing with the Lax or the Rotom. What am I meant to do about the Blaziken, right? I mean, I just had no more resources at this point, and yeah, so he Thunder Punches, and he gets the full para, like, that was just really dumb. I guess No, even if you had a Shedinja in the back and I just had to hit 3 attacks, I would have died to Life Orb. Yeah, he said, sorry for all the hacks. So I'm not gonna sit here and say there's nothing I could have done because I understand that when people say that, it is very, very rarely the case. But I do think without the hacks, I could have taken that game. Like I definitely could have taken that. And overall I just don't like how I handled that Dawn fan. That was just immature playing, so to speak. In the way that you know for the amount of experience I've had, like with how much I've played the game and how I've developed. I should never have been playing Dawn Fan like that. I should never have been making those kinds of mistakes. And like, yes, I understand why I did that. There is rationale to it, but just because you can analyze, a set of plays doesn't mean that it was ever the right decision. I should have always been stone edging on Dawn Fan because, the Rotom goes down. I had to mute my mic there. Um, yeah, so no, I don't think. Where was I? So right, yeah, I should have always stone edged because that was my odds of getting back into the game. I think I recognized that, but I didn't play to it because I was so laser focused on trying to remove spikes because those being up were really bad for me. Um, yeah, I mean that's just I just did not play that aspect of the game well at all. Everything else, I think I did what I could, but I mean, yeah, that was just you know. I'm not saying I played perfectly, but you know, I think I should have taken that game honestly. Um, so we go to Oris because my opponent does agree to take me there. Perhaps out of pity because I wanted to play Oris. Maybe he wanted to play Black and White. Maybe he wanted to play Oris. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and analyze that. So, Hariyama, Garchomp. This Garchomp is Scarf, which is going to matter a lot as the battle progresses. Sorry, I just got really distracted by something. I didn't even mute my mic. I was just... Okay. So, Garchomp, Hariyama, switch out, go to Malamar. He said, good luck, have fun. Again, I certainly needed it here. He clicks Knockoff into Chesto Berry. I click Psycho Cut here, close combat, and that kills me. So, yes, I should have clicked Superpower here. But, because my Malamar set was Psycho Cut, Knockoff, Superpower, Rest. And so, I understand that in Randbats it is generally advised to keep your setup sweepers for the later parts of the game where you know more information about your opponent's team. But the reason I made that Psycho Cut play and didn't Superpower, because I did live +1. I'm going to fact check that actually, because I want to be precise about this. Hariyama, it is... Okay, it's Guts Assault Vest. What kind of set? Oh, I gotta blur that out again. 30, it's like 18. Screen. Again. Okay. Okay. So... Yeah, close combat. If I were at +1, gotta make sure I click on the right tab so I don't have to blur out the video too much, because that is quite annoying to do. Yeah, so close combat did 55 min, so I would have been at 12. I could have rested. Yes, but I was also knocked off, so I was going to have to burn turns, and you will soon see that Malamar wasn't great into the rest of the team. So, I mean, that's not entirely why I made the play. I just wanted damage, and I didn't want to let him switch for free. That was the whole rationale there. I did... Because I showed the set to some friends, and one of them said that I should have always superpowered. I understand where he's coming from there, because Malamar can be very dangerous. You know, even if you don't know the last Pokemon, but you know, he said that he said that I should have superpowered after the fact, and I think that was kind of a hindsight idea to do that. And, you know, like, again, I superpower, right? I'm at, you know, I live on, I guess, yeah, 12% maximum. So, you know, then I have to take a turn to rest, and Malamar isn't even that fast. And it's slower than a lot of his team that... which you will soon see. So you know, I guess, yeah, that's also a hindsight kind of way of looking at it. But either way, you know, superpowering wasn't going to be particularly valuable, because I'd have to take turns to rest since I was knocked off. And, you know, I couldn't really switch out, because if you got rocks, you know, then I was done for. And, you know, I can't even switch in on anything, and I have to revenge. Yeah, just... So I got damage, and I got out of there. So he's on 50, and this is Zard Y, so I Mega Evolve and click Air Slash, and that takes Hariyama down for the count. I revealed 3 different Pokemon to kill one of his. Off to a great start. So, Jijilith is in, and I go for an interesting play here. I click Solar Beam, because here's why I click Solar Beam. I recognize that, and for those wondering, Jijilith does not get Sandstream until Generation 7. It's sturdy, and I believe Sand Force until Generation 7 when it gets Sandstream. So my reasoning here is, you know, first of all, I don't want this thing, you know, I want to damage this thing. And if he puts up Stealth Rock and I switch out, right, then Zard comes in at 50, and it's not going to be checking a ton at that point. Right? I didn't know what he had in the back. He could have something faster. He could have something that completely counters this, although, it is a Zard Y, so that is a tall order. So, if he puts up Stealth Rock, I don't know how valuable Charizard is going to be at 50%. But what I can guarantee is that I can bring Gigalith down to Sturdy and then revenge kill it with whatever I want. So I make the concession that I'm okay with dying if it means that I take Gigalith down with me, because the price of letting him put up rocks as I switch out and not hit him is too much. I don't know if I explained that super fluently, but I also don't care. Because it makes sense to me. And I am the only person I'm trying to please here. So he Stone Edges. I'm fine with this. I had accepted that outcome before I clicked Solar Beam. So we're basically 2 for 2 at this point. I go into Garchomp so as to not reveal more of my team, and, Scarf Earthquake is generally pretty threatening. But then he sends in Blossom. And this Pokemon ran a train on my team. So I go into Ferrothorn, because I know he's not going to HP Fire. And he Sleep Powders, which is good for me. I figured he'd either... because this doesn't get Quiver Dance yet. I believe that's Gen 8 that it does. Gen 7 or 8, I want to say it was Generation 8, because that's when a lot of Pokemon got, like, Dragon Dance and Quiver Dance. Like, Flygon and Arrow got Dragon Dance in Gen 8. I guess it stands to reason that Blossom would get Quiver Dance. God, this kind of got me thinking, what would, tier like ADV be like with Dragon Dance Flygon? Its whole role just gets flipped on its head, right? Because Flygon is typically used defensively with Toxic and Roar, that kind of thing on bulky Superman teams. So I wonder how that would function on more offensive teams with Dragon Dance. And I'm going to get some more water because I've been talking for like 35 minutes straight. All right. Now that my thirst is sufficiently quenched for the time being. Yeah, so Sleep Powder comes out, and I go to Pyroar. Just some nice pivoting here, because I think this is either like HP Fire or HP Rock. So my rationale was like, okay, if he's HP Rock, he's not clicking it here, he's probably switching. And if he's HP Fire, I go into Pyroar and eat it, even if it is in the sun. And yeah, it is HP Fire. I take it very handily, even in sun. Does Pyroar have particularly good stats? Or, not good stats, but like good SpDef? No, it doesn't even have good SpDef. Wait. Yeah, that just did no damage. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah, so he goes into Altaria as I Fire Blast to the left, which doesn't matter a ton for obvious reasons, right? But still kind of annoying. So I Will-O-Wisp here. Him Megaing at here was actually a bad play because he could have kept the natural cure. I understand wanting to become a fairy type for Garchomp, but he actually has another fairy type in the back, as we will soon see. And yeah, so he Earthquakes. I was fine with taking this damage if it meant I could click Will-O-Wisp. And Mega Altaria, as it turns out, can carry Heal Bell. Will it have it? Let's see. Broken Oris Burn. There we go. And it does. So I am making approximately no progress with Pyroar here. So I have to find a way. I have to find another way around Altaria. I go Ferrothorn, and he goes back into Blossom. I Toxic, to try and get some damage going. And I switch into Rhyperior here. Why? Because I want to Sleep Fodder something. So I was banking on him clicking Sleep Powder there. No, sorry. I was banking on him clicking Hidden Power Fire, and then I think the plan was to stay in, predicting a Sleep Powder, predicting me to switch. Could you call that over-predicting? Maybe. I call it forward thinking, and I was fine with losing Rhyperior because it's not doing shit to Blossom. It doesn't really beat Mega Altaria 1v1 because I believe I'm Rock Polish on this set. No, I'm Assault Vest. I remember. Yeah, I'm like Assault Vest, Edgequake, Ice Punch, Dragon Tail, I think was my set. But yeah. And then I switch back into Pyroar on the Giga Drain. Now this is looking like a pretty free Hyper Voice. Did I click it here? I did. Okay. Cool. So now, now this is looking good. If Altaria goes down, it can't Heal Bell the Blossom, which means I can wear it down with Toxic damage, meaning that Garchomp can really start to clean up the team once Pyroar has broken through. And he has a Florges. And you know what that means? He has a Florges with Wish. So and this is not Gyro Ball Ferrothorn. This is, I believe, knockoff Power Whip, Leech Seed, Stealth Rock. It might have been Protect over Power Whip. I don't remember too well. But yeah, knockoff doing nothing to Blossom. I get rid of its leftovers, which is valuable, but I know I can come in on this for free. And then I Stone Edge to do no damage because it's pretty nice when you're 18 levels higher than your opponent. Giga Drain. I mean, look at this. I mean, that's just funny, right? Yeah, this set was so cursed. It was a very cursed set, which I'm probably cringe for having said that just now, but whatever. Yeah, so Garchomp isn't going to be breaking through. Pyroar gets, it doesn't switch into anything. Ferrothorn gets decked by a Hidden Power Fire. I have no idea what to do. He reveals Garbodor, which has Spikes and Pain Split. So I go into Pyroar. I think this ends up being a sacrifice. Yeah. Stomping Tantrum doesn't exist, so it doesn't have ground coverage. But I go into Ferrothorn anyway. Stealth Rock. Oh, wait, no, it was Toxic Knockoff, Stealth Rock. I've been Protect. I don't remember. I don't know if I revealed a last move. Yeah, I guess I'm not. I guess I didn't commentate that. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm just scrambling to deal with Blossom. I just can't break. Oh, it was Toxic Spikes, which I guess is a little better, but yeah, I mean, I just if I had Gyro Ball, this would be so much better. But I mean, not that the matchup was unwinnable, but I mean, come on, look at this. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna skip through this because you get the idea. Yeah, there's the GG. Um, yeah, so I lost 0-2 to Hacks and a very, very unfortunate matchup. Yeah, that was irritating. I mean, I don't really get too upset about hacks because, like, I get it's part of the game we play, right? I kind of just accept it, right? Um, but, obviously, a competitive game should reward the better player, and I, I do not think my level of execution here was proportionately rewarded. Um, Not that there was really any hacks here. I just had a terrible, terrible matchup. I mean, if anyone else has, if anyone has better ideas for how I could have played this match, then go ahead. I mean, although save your Malamar comments, keep them to yourself. I've heard it all regarding that. So, next up is my losers semis match of the Showdown Charity Tournament against RGGV. I was gonna say he's some YouTube guy, but then I remembered that's like the whole point of the tournament. Um, yeah, he, he's pretty good. He has a custom avatar. I don't know where he got it from, but cool for him, I guess. So this entire tournament, he's been bringing kind of weird teams. He brought a Regigigas team one round, and it wasn't the round that put him in losers bracket, I'll tell you that much. And then he played another round with Dragon Dance Hydreigon weakness policy, so he is just using some real oddball stuff, which I can respect in a for fun tour like this, but yeah, I would have been misguided to expect a standard team. Not that I really know what the standard even is in OU right now, because I don't follow the tier enough to know what's, considered great. I mean, I get the general idea. Like, King Gambit is good, Ogerpon, Kyurem, that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't even say I have a surface level knowledge of the tier. I just took other people's teams and then played matches. I'm once again using Dat Guy Keith's team, Freeze Corleone, incredible team, top 10 teams of all time. And truly the most inspirational shit ever. 6-0 in tournaments at this point. And at the end of this match, it will either be 6-1 or 7-0. So let's see here. So on preview, we can see obviously he brings Slowking, which I don't understand at all, because he's really weak to other Kyurem at this point. So I don't get it. I don't get why he would bring regular Slowking. Maybe there's some OU jank that I'm not understanding. I guess like not being weak to Great Tusk is kind of cool. But yeah, so obviously this is just one giant, snow gimmick with, the most physically and specially tanky things he could think of, barring Blissey, I guess, and Avalugg. Avalugg on this team, I guess I wouldn't put past him. And then Cinderace, because, sure. Yeah. So obviously my Kyurem's important here, so I need to create a good situation for that. I need to be careful about how I make progress because if I go too gung ho on hazards, I, I don't remember if this Meowscarada has spikes. I want to say it was 4 attacks. Um, actually, I don't even think this team has any hazards. Yeah, no, I know I know the Great Tusk isn't Stealth Rock. Um, yeah, it doesn't have Stealth Rock. The only other hazard setter would be Meowscarada, and I think it's 4 attack. So I can't really get core changed by Cinderace, which is cool, but I do have to figure out how to get out ahead and put myself in an advantageous position. Um, so I don't remember how I lead this. And he turns the timer off. I mean, I not super sure why he did that. I mean, I guess he didn't want to win off timer. I mean, I was just taking my time to think. But yeah, I lead Meowscarada, which I generally agree with. I didn't. I mean, I guess Kyurem lead didn't make sense, and Pecharunt or Tinglu or Slowking lead would be pretty good for me. But he does lead Cinderace, so I go hard Great Tusk. I don't know why I didn't just U-turn and take the damage. And yeah, he Pyro Balls, and I am pretty bulky. So here I can always go for Earthquake, because if Rotom Wash comes out, or Rotom Frost rather comes out, then I have a free switch to Slowking. And then I can Chilly Reception out and respond that way. But I double. I guess I didn't want to get Will-O-Wisp? Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. I did not play well here. A lot of my plays just didn't make sense. And I was not thinking very clearly. I just wasn't in a great state of mind here. So, and I'd just gotten off work at this point. So, yeah, I was a little fried. Not that that's a good excuse, but not that I'm trying to make an excuse. But, yeah, I just was not thinking clearly. So I make a rather pointless double and get my Kyurem chipped, which, that always should have been an Earthquake, right? Even without the gift of hindsight, Earthquake always looked good because I had responses to any option he could have picked there in that position. So I go into my Glowking. He T-Waves me, which is great because I get the slower chill reception, para permitting, or para willing, I guess, however you want to look at that. But yeah, he clicks Future Sight, which I guess is fair. Yeah, because now nothing really takes on a Future Sight in conjunction with Cinderace's Pyro Ball, so now he is poised to take full advantage of that. So I respond by going Raging Bolt, and I think I just Thunderbolt here. I Dragon Pulse. Okay. Cool. So go Meowscarada, he Whirlwinds into the Future Sight Weakmon. Yeah. I mean, there's not much I could have done there. I'm not going to call it hacks, but I'm not. But that is pretty unfortunate. So I go back to Meowscarada, and I believe I knock off here. Finally, I made a good play, but Pecharunt does have Recover, annoyingly enough. So I go back into Raging Bolt on the expected Recover. And yeah, this game is just painful for me to watch. Yeah, because I'm just gonna skip some turns here, like and then I freeze dry. And then I tell Brady to not watch this because 55-28. That was an ad based on my location. Okay. I accidentally scrolled. So, yeah, I mean, call me SpongeBob because I soiled it. True words have not been spoken. I Draco. I don't get 6-0'd, which is probably the best part about this entire match. Yeah, and then he U-turns. He's just taking advantage of a good position, and then, it wasn't flip turn. Yeah. I mean, not that it would have mattered, but yeah, I mean, this team just didn't break through his kind of balanced idea very well at all. It could be a team issue, but I'm also not nearly qualified enough to speak on that. I think, yeah. I just keep clicking Draco Meteor, begging to let my Kyurem die. Petron goes down at some point, which is groovy. And then I Terra Fairy on the Blizzard that ends up killing. Oh my god. Yep. You gotta play it ultra safe. Yeah, GG, sorry for the hacks, and then, yeah, I understand what he was saying, but I didn't really care about that in the moment. Yeah. Obviously, a terrible showing from me. I put this team to shame. I put, I soiled the good Don Bone Jones name. Soiled it. I'm shaking and crying right now. I am sent into an apoplectic rage. I'm just checking all the boxes at this point. So I have one more replay lined up, and before I do that, I'm going to get a drink of agua. Bet you didn't know I was bilingual. I am out of water, so I hope I don't get too parched commentating over this last replay, because I have been going for a while. Yeah, okay. Adjust my computer here. All right. So, at this point, I hadn't won anything that, mattered in forever. I was losing draft league games. I was on a crazy draft league game loss streak. I'd lost the OU tournament. I'd lost in the Rands tournament. I needed an ego boost because Lord knows, it wasn't going to come from ladder. I mean, that's just a crazy idea, right? So, recently, my good friend Brady organized a tournament between a bunch of his friends, myself included, and a bunch of friends of someone else named A1. And we had a team tournament. It was just like a 1 week team tournament, like an exhibition sort of thing. where we played. It's a best of 9 exhibition, and the 9 formats are Smog and Tor best of 3. So the 3 most recent gens of OU, that being Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, and Scarlet Violet. OU best of 3. And then Gen 9, 8, and 7 individual, like on their own. And I think Gen 9 is also a best of 3. And of course, you and your opponent could agree to a best of 3 if you wanted to. But, Gen 9 and Smug and Tors, obviously Smug and Tors was best of 3, but Gen 9 was best of 3, and then there was Ubers, Little Cup, Ranbats, and then each side got their own pick. So our side, for our pick, chose Gen 3 OU, and their side chose Gen 5 OU. And you'll never guess which format I played. Like, the only one of those 9 that I play, Ubers. So originally the plan was because we thought they were going to pick GSC, and I would have been slotted in for that, for their pick. But no, they didn't end up picking GSC. So I got to play in Ubers, which is like my best tier right now, and like the only tier I really play. And I am looking to get into other tiers in the coming months. But yeah, so as of like right before I played my match, here was the state of affairs. Well, first of all, I was playing a World Cup player. Like, I didn't, their side took so long to choose an Ubers player that I thought they just didn't have one in the server, and they were just scrambling to find someone who kind of knew the tier. No, they had, like, a really good Ubers player there. And so it was like, shit, all right, I guess I have my work cut out for me now. And so once it started, we took, our team had taken Smug and Tor's best of 3, Little Cup, because we have the Little Cup GOAT on our side. We'd taken Gen 3. Yeah, so we were up 3-2, and because they had taken Gen 5 and Ranbats. Yeah, they took Gen 5 and Ranbats. So it was 3-2. If I lost, it was a tie, and then if I won, it would be 4-2, and we would only need one more to win the exhibition. So that brings us to my match with Real Account Amy, a great player who's competed at a very high level. Very, very solid player. So I knew I had to be on top of my game. So I brought a very standard team. That's what I did. Here, I have it prepared right here. Yeah, so this was my team. Scarf Koraidon, Boots Miraidon, Terra Flyingzation, which I actually do like a lot. EQE Killer with Terra Normal, which I understand Terra Normal is a bit of a oddball pick, but I do like it in a late game situation. And then Trick Room NDM and Calyrex Ice. With Calyrex Ice having close combat, which is, again, more of a niche pick. So, I mean, you could argue that this team isn't super standard, but in terms of the Pokemon choices and the set choices, this is about as standard as you get in Ubers. My friend Adam, who had actually won the Smokin' Tours Best of 3, and a fellow Ubers player, better than me, honestly, he had recommended that I use a bulkier adamant Scarf Coridon set that had been doing pretty well. You know what I told him? No, I want the most standard shit. And I was just also more comfortable with this set. I didn't want to change anything, like, because we were running practice games like an hour before the match. He's like, "Oh, dude, just change it to." No, I'm not going to change it an hour before. You know, if we'd run up games like the day before, it's like, okay, you know, sure, I can make some changes, but no. Yeah. So, in general, this team does struggle to deal with Pokemon like DD Ground Arceus in sort of a mid-game situation. You know, because the idea is that you lead Koraidon into a lot of these teams, and then you can generally low kick because Koraidon has the bulk to survive most hits from common Uber's leads. And if not, it can U-turn into teammates like Zacian. If it's against another Dragon type, it typically can afford U-turning into Zacian. Or, you know, if it's against a Miraidon, I can switch into Necrozma Duskmane to absorb a Draco Meteor, and then, you know, respond that way. You know, I can double switch to like Zacian or Miraidon, or I can Trick Room or whatever. A lot of flexibility, especially in the lead. A lot of people do enjoy like hazard lead offense. This actually is a hazardless offense, and really a leadless offense, if you want to go so far, which I know some people would. But I honestly like this kind of leadless offense idea because it gives you more flexibility into the many Glimora hyper offense teams running around, because, you know, it gives you a lot of options based on what their team composition looks like. You can decide whether you want to lead with, you know, Miraidon or Koraidon, right? If you want to just low kick or whatever, because a lot of them don't. Well, I shouldn't say that. A lot of times you can't afford to lead Koraidon and then you turn into Miraidon because they won't be clicking Mud Shot a lot of the time. They'll be more concerned with getting up a spike or clicking Dazzling Gleam, which Miraidon more often than not does eat comfortably. You know, barring anything stupid like crit, or, you know, if I weren't Boots, then, you know, Dazzling Gleam plus T-Spike would be pretty annoying. You know, you can also lead Necrozma Duskmane into those kinds of teams. If you want to, you know, if you see that Necrozma has a good matchup, you can lead with that, and you can activate Weakness Policy and set up Trick Room. You do have to be conscientious of, you know, both Mud Shot damage and because you're going to be taking 2 rounds of Mud Shot, and yeah, you take 2 rounds of Mud Shot if you want to set up Trick Room and kill Glimora off rip, because you have to break its sash, and, you know, once you know, in that sequence you are taking 2 Mud Shots, and if you are facing something, you know, like a bulkier team that has a pretty sufficient way of dealing with NDM, it can more often than not take advantage of the fact that it's already burned its Weakness Policy and send in a defensive check to it, and, you know, Whirlwind it, or, you know, Will-O-Wisp, or, you know, outright kill it if it has the means to. Or, you know, if they're E-Killer, right, if they have it, if it's a more offensive team and they have E-Killer, if that's, if the E-Killer is bulky enough, you know, it can, actually, I think, let me see this. Because I believe, does bulkless E-Killer live +2? Oh, this is randoms. 1v1. Uber's Trick Room. +2. Arceus. Okay, yeah, so bulkless can live a lot of the time, but oftentimes they opt for 200 HP. That's the standard. Yeah, you live this. Not consistently after Stealth Rock. I don't like Bootsy Killer. I don't think it's worth it on offensive teams, but yeah. It can even live, after Photon Geyser. And then, it Shadow Claws you or, whatever. Right, so sometimes, you do accrue that damage and then it comes back to bite you later. But the overall point is that, yes, this team is leadless, so your game plan isn't always as solid. Because I'm a big believer in, yes, I do enjoy, that sort of play interaction, but I also like having teams that kind of play themselves insofar as, the teams are made in a way such that prediction is eased, right? You don't have to make so much on the fly because your team is built with a certain game plan in mind. Like, okay, well, this team is built to, play to a Calyrex endgame or a Arceus endgame by breaking through with Zacian and Miraidon, right? Using this team as an example. Right, it does have that, but yes, it's harder to find that game plan consistently, but at the same time, you also have a lot more flexibility in your options because if your opponent has a good lead, you can plan around that, and you're not locked into leading Glamora and maybe having to play out the Ditto or having to deal with something that would beat Glamora, like I don't know, like taunt, weakness policy Miraidon, I don't know, or the taunt Calm Mind Miraidon set, the stall counter team, which I haven't seen used quite some time. But yeah, this Arceus is also pretty fast, just because I did some research and in testing this Arceus, I really appreciated having the faster E-speed. So I did some digging and I found out that generally the fastest people will go on their Arceus is 176 speed. So I was fine with going with 180 and dipping into my HP quite a bit because I didn't value the bulk as much since I'm Terra Normal and not Terra Ghost. So I'm not trying to go the distance against Koraidon and like Shadow Clawed on Terra Ghost. That's not the plan with this thing. The plan is just to have a very consistent cleanup option, if I need it and if I can reliably execute that idea. So, and then, yes, standard Miraidon, Boots Taunt. Close combat is good on Calyrex because it provides it a lot more flexibility against offensive teams. Teams that like to take advantage of the synergy between Zacian and Koraidon, right? There's a big difference between high horsepowering a Koraidon and close combating it, because high horsepower does not do nearly enough damage to Koraidon. I mean, 100 HP, 115 defense, like high horsepower is not touching that. But if it's like, okay, well, I can high horsepower predicting a switch to Zacian. Sure, but close combat eases that prediction, and you're clicking that just because it's a good mid-ground, not because, you're just predicting a Zacian and it also kind of hits Koraidon. If you click close combat into Koraidon, you're still getting good damage. And if you click it into Zacian, well, you've gotten a lot out of that turn anyway. So yeah, that's why I really like close combat. Also, high horsepower. I think it has to. I think it has to be a +3 to guarantee a kill on NDM. Yeah, no. +2 never kills standard NDM. You have to be at +3 to guarantee a kill. So, I mean, with close combat, you're doing, around 50%, and you're not even, well, okay, you're doing, right, 35. But if NDM comes in to revenge you, it has to contend with 2 close combats, which under Trick Room, they will come out first. And, the defense drop doesn't really matter because the only thing most NDM are hitting Calyrex Ice with is that Earthquake, which hardly ever does enough at -1, especially when that weakness policy isn't being procced. So close combat just provides a lot more flexibility, and it better enables Calyrex to do its job. It allows it to have that flexibility of being either a sweeper or just a breaker, and I really like the mileage you get out of close combat, and it's just a great option in my opinion. Zacian, I kind of messed around with this set a bit. I used to not like Play Rough Zacian, but over time I've kind of I've been more drawn to it. I don't. It's late. I don't know what the correct way to say that would be. Whatever. I've come around on Play Rough because a lot of times you can count on switching Zacian into Draco Meteors or even Koraidon Low Kicks if you can really afford to in a late game situation. Or if it's Scarf and it locks in a low kick, then you have a better option against that over Wild Charge. I had Wild Charge because, you look at the set, well, what wall is it? Ho-Oh. But Ho-Oh has also fallen out of favor because SV Ubers has gotten to a point now where, because of the prevalence of Miraidon and Koraidon, both of which I think should be banned, and are, causing this sort of dynamic in the tier, offense and hyper offense are the dominant playstyles, and they have just this absolute chokehold on balanced teams where those teams can very, very rarely weather the storm of, bikes, either arc normal or ground, the Trick Room abusers, and then Zacian or, whatever else you fancy. Like Kyogre is a cool option on offense, in my opinion. I've also seen where is it? Yeah, I've seen Offensive Eternatus tried on offense, and I think it's got some cool applications. So I mean, yeah, that's just very directly contributed to the downfall of balance in SV Ubers, much to my dismay, and part of why I want to branch out, because this tier kind of sucks in my opinion. And, as is the opinion of pretty much everyone who plays this tier, we only stick around because, we're invested. It's the same people. It's the same reason people care so much about older gens that, have tiers that might not be in the best plays, but we can fix them because we're invested and we care about this game. Yeah. So I dropped Wild Charge in favor of Play Rough. Just stabs, CC, SD. I've played around with... Well, I had Terra Electric when I still had Wild Charge. I canned that for Terra Fighting once I dropped Wild Charge. And then I realized it's not even that good into NDM, which is the whole reason you have it, just for that extra damage into NDM sets, before they set up Trick Room or whatever. But then I found out Terra Flying is a lot better, just in pretty much every way. So, Yeah. I will... My throat is yet again parched. I'm going to refill my water bottle. Yeah, I will be back in a flash. Feel free to be left with your thoughts in the meantime. Okay, so now that I have explained the machinations of the team, it's time for the actual battle. So while I am bringing a very stock standard team, Amy has brought a very interesting team. We have Glamora plus Grimmsnarl. I don't really like these kinds of teams because, yes, on paper they provide more flexibility, and the T-spikes in in conjunction with screens sounds like a nice idea, but the turns you take to set them up, and the opportunities you give your opponent in in a tier as fast paced as Uber's just really is not worth it to me. But I mean, that's what he's brought, and we see NDM on a Glamora HO team, which is not a very common choice. Neither is Kieran Black. Kieran Black's not a common choice at all. It's just generally pretty bad because it thuds into the likes of Ice Calyrex. We see this Arceus Ground, which is almost definitely offensive Dragon Dance. So it is not likely to be invested in very much bulk, meaning that Miraidon's Draco Meteor will do a hefty chunk to it, assuming I can get that off. So here I'm kind of thinking, what provides me, just what covers the most options, right? I'm not trying to pull out ahead as quickly as possible. I'm just trying to, with a team as unpredictable as this. Oh, I mean, also, I guess talk about that not Scarf Koraidon, the Scale Shot Koraidon, right? I mean, good lord. SD Scale Shot Koraidon is going to be tough for this team to contend with because it is an SD Scale Shot Koraidon, and as such is completely broken. So, what gives me the most, what covers the most options here? Well, I can lead Miraidon and Taunt here to only allow Grimmsnarl to get up one screen, or, prevent Glamora from getting up spikes. Then I can Electro Drift or Draco Meteor or whatever. I also have Arceus with Taunt. I can SD in front of whatever. I have Earthquake for Glamora. I can even E-Speed, which goes before Grimmsnarl's Prankster moves. So that's a very viable option. If I want to, I could even go into Calyrex and start setting up because it has the bulk to withstand something like, Glamora's attacks. If it's Power Gem or whatever, then I can handily live that. And if Grimmsnarl puts up a screen, then that gives me, if it puts up two screens, or, if it parting shots, it gives me plenty of time to set up with Swords Dance and Trick Room, and that gives me enough momentum. Or not momentum, but enough offensive pressure to really jumpstart this game in my favor. He could also lead Koraidon, right? He could just lead off and flare blitz for all I know, because that does look quite threatening into my team. Especially if my Koraidon weren't Scarf, which, I mean, he doesn't know that, but it is. But given that he doesn't know that, he could very well see that as a viable lead. But in this game, I do remember a lot more, in a lot better detail, because, you can see it's from the 4th. Yeah, so without further delay, let's see what I lead. I believe I lead Miraidon. Yes, okay. So I lead Miraidon into Glimmora. This is roughly what I was expecting. I've played this matchup. I've played this lead matchup so many times. You actually have no idea. I've boiled this lead matchup down to a science. You don't really consistently win this matchup. You always Electro Drift turn 1, break the sash. If they Mudshot, you U-turn, and if they put up Spike, you Electro Drift. However, they put up a Spike here. And this is really interesting, because I am almost certain this Glimmora has Mudshot. And he valued putting up a Spike more than he valued slowing down the Miraidon. And because of this, and because of the way this team operates, this team needs a lot of resources. It needs a lot of ways to generate offensive momentum. So, I could tell something was off. He didn't Mudshot me turn 1, because a -1 Miraidon is slower than a neutral max speed Glimmora. So I could tell that he was planning to do something other than just putting up a Spike and sacking. He wanted more mileage than that, and he wanted to get more out of his Glimmora slot. He wanted T-Spikes. He wanted to, maybe get a Mortal Spin on something. Well, maybe not Mortal Spin, but he wanted a Mudshot on something else, maybe. So seeing this, I'm thinking, okay, well, I can Electro Drift. However, the risk of that is too great, because the thing is, if I Electro Drift and he stays in or goes NDM or whatever, but the consequence of him going Arceus Ground or one of his dragons is too great, because if he goes into those and I'm giving it a free turn to set up, potentially, I'm in a really bad spot, and I would have to spend a lot more of my resources and a lot more turns getting off the back foot, or getting back into a better position. So I make a prediction, and I Draco Meteor to take a solid 66% off Arceus. I want to see what that roll was, actually, because I don't know that roll super well. Dragon Dance. Okay, so yeah, I did mid-roll. I figured I did, because this is standard 132 with 307 to outrun the base 90s, which aren't too common, but it's nice to be faster than them. Yeah, so I Draco Meteor, and then, so right now I'm thinking, okay, what do I do with my Miraidon? Because if I U-turn out, there's a very real chance he recovers. There's a very real chance he could also click a ground type move. What do I value here? Do I value keeping Miraidon around, or do I value keeping Arceus weak? The thing is, if Miraidon, for as insanely broken as Miraidon is, it's not that good here. If Kyurem gets a Dragon Dance off, or if Koraidon gets a skill shot off, right, that's bad news. That's bad news, and it's going to take a lot more than a Miraidon to stop it. And Arceus can very well get out of hand. If it gets up 2 Dragon Dances, I'm pretty sure it KOs Calyrex with Stone Edge. You know, and even at +1, it's going to really be chunking Calyrex for more damage than I'd be super comfortable with. Especially when, you know, he puts up screens and other Pokemon are behind that. Then I don't kill him in one hit, even though I'm at +2, and then they kill my Calyrex. So, you know, I don't think switching is worth it. And Draco Meteor also is very unlikely to kill, right? At -2, it's doing, you know, it's doing 35 max. So I click Taunt here on the Grimmsnarl, catch it on the switch. I would have been fine with losing my Miraidon because Adamant Earthquake does kill. Standard bulky CM Judgment doesn't kill, but it would have done a lot. That's not to say I was thinking. That's not to say I was thinking it was bulky setup or bulky CM. But yeah, I catch the Grimmsnarl on the switch, and this is really good for me. So right now, I'm thinking, you know, okay, this is an advantageous position. I just need to convert it into something that gives me a lot of momentum. You know, and ideally I do that with a Trick Room breaker. So I U-turn here, yep, into Zacian, right. Because if Grimmsnarl comes in, I believe it was dead behind a Reflect. Let's... Grimmsnarl... I don't know if I ran this calc. Okay, yeah, so if it was Spit F, it was dead behind screens. We take away Stealth Rock. Yeah, I mean, it was favored to be dead behind screens. I mean, we hit these. Come on now. So, yeah. Yeah, okay, so Zacian looks good here. If he goes NDM, I'm fine with clicking Close Combat into it, if it means I can get more damage on it. If it's Morning Sun, then that means it's Dragon Dance, and that set isn't nearly as threatening because of my Scarf Koraidon, which does outrun NDM at +2, always. So I go Zacian here, he does sack Glamora, and overall he gets minimal value out of it. I mean, he gets the momentum, or he gets momentum, but yeah. So NDM comes in, and I Swords Dance on it. Let me show you this calc, because I was surprised when I saw this. Earthquake had, you know, it had 2 rolls to kill me. 2. I couldn't believe it. So I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to go for Swords Dance. And so Earthquake does 66. Okay, this is bulky NDM. So I Close Combat it for 62. And then he takes me down. So that is pretty good value out of Zacian, because now Calyrex is looking really, really dangerous. So I do take this opportunity to go into Miraidon, because now I hope y'all can't see the Discord messages that are popping up on my screen. I normally turned that off before, but it's like, okay, you know, at this hour I don't think people are going to be messaging me. Well, they are. Not that I'm telling you, like, go away, but whatever. Yeah, so I can bring in Miraidon because, you know, the idea is that, yes, Arceus and Grimmsnarl can switch between each other, you know, theoretically forever, and he could get every play right, but that's not going to happen. So I send in Miraidon, and then... Yeah, okay. I thought this interaction went on for longer, but yeah. So he just pivots through Arceus and goes to Grimmsnarl. Good play by him. I wasn't really trying to play around it, but yeah. So I just set up. So I'm thinking, okay, I don't really value damage on Grimmsnarl so much as, because with Grimmsnarl, it's not very bulky by your standards. It's only here because it's like the best screen setter that they can muster. Screen setters are hard to come by in Ubers for reasons that I hope are obvious. If not, I don't care really. But yeah, so I don't really care about damaging Grimmsnarl. I'm just going to make Amy pick one screen to set up. Whichever screen he locks into, I'm going to take advantage of it. I have some way to take advantage of, I have Miraidon to take advantage of him getting Reflect up, and I have, my 4 physical attackers to take advantage of Light Screen. And he puts up Reflect, which makes sense considering that this is almost entirely physical offense. Hey, these just so happen to be the top 6 mons in the tier. Come on. Yeah, so I don't let him get another screen, and I also deny Parting Shot, which is nice for me. Yeah, okay, so this is what I was thinking of. Yeah, okay. I swear this interaction went on for longer. I guess I just played it out more in my head. But yeah, so it's like, okay, Arceus, yeah, he can go Grimmsnarl, he can switch between the two forever. I don't care. Draco kills NDM, it does 33 min. So I do hit it, and down goes the NDM. Now, if I theoretically get to +6 with my Calyrex, I can, beat 4 Mons in 4 turns. But obviously it's not going to be that simple because my opponent is a good player, and he's not going to just give that to me. So he goes back into Grimmsnarl, Electric Terrain is down, and Miraidon is not used goods, but it is... It did what it came to do, honestly. So he taunts my taunt. I'm fine with that. And he Parting Shots out, which is really good for me. He goes into Arceus Ground because that gives me Switch Initiative, and I go into Calyrex Ice. I don't remember what I spent a minute and a half thinking about. But yeah, I don't know what I spent a minute and a half thinking about, truly. But yeah, I go into Calyrex Ice because now I get to Swords Dance. Actually, I might have been calcing this. Dragon Dance, or Calyrex Ice. What is this calc? Wait, what? Oh wait, no, this is behind Reflect. Yeah, right. I think I was just trying to find the most consistent line, and Calyrex, it can snowball out of control here because Stone Edge never 2-hit KOs, barring crit, which it does have high odds too. So I kind of have to keep that in mind. So I go into this, and Stone Edges gets a pretty low roll, all things considered. But yeah, I set up Trick Room, and now it is the Calyrex show. Kieran Black, and this is where Close Combat comes in handy, and I go for another Swords Dance, right, because Kieran Black sucks, and it doesn't even kill Calyrex Ice because it is bulked out of its mind. Look at these stats. 100 HP, 150 defense, yeah, that was not going to do anything. 170 base attack, get out of here. I didn't even go for Close Combat. I just clicked Glacial Lance. And this is where I make, honestly, a pretty bad play. So, for anyone somehow watching this right now, I'll let you try and you can pause the video now and think about what the best play is here. You know, I'll even here. Right here. Pause it now. What is the best play to make? Okay? The best play is to swords dance, because this is not likely to have an attacking move, and if he parting shots, then he goes into Koraidon, and he has to either kill me or set up, and if he sets up, I put Trick Room back up, and, you know, if he stays in and puts a screen up, I Swords Dance and then Trick Room on the next turn. But I click Glacial Lance. And now he has a Koraidon behind a Reflect, which is one of the scariest things you can ever witness as an Ubers player. Or just Koraidon behind screens in general. So I wish I could just go to the beginning of the turn, but I understand why it works this way. So here, because here's the thing. I don't end up getting punished for this, but Koraidon, if it were Terra Ghost, I lost the game. I lost on the spot. Terra Ghost Scale Shot won the game. Right there. Because Electro Drift on a Terra Ghost Koraidon, or just, you know, a Koraidon that doesn't resist electric, or Draco Meteor, you know, so like Terra Fire, I guess Terra Fairy, Koraidon, if, you know, if we want to disregard Draco Meteor, but whatever. Unresisted base 130 attack from Miraidon, base 130 power move from Miraidon, has a 1 in 16 chance to kill. So if this were Terra Ghost, I was in really bad shape. Like, I probably lost on the spot. And this is like why Koraidon should be banned. Like, you see this, Koraidon can come back from this. It can just set up and then outrun me and just win. That should not be allowed at all. I think it's absurd. But this is not the place for me to talk about my opinions regarding Uber's tiering. All that matters is that if this were Terra Ghost, I almost definitely lost. So I set Trick Room back up as he clicks Terrifier Bulk Up, which is a set I haven't seen since like the beginning of the generation. You know, so that is very unorthodox. So, you know, I see this, and I don't really know where this is going, so I just click Close Combat, and I see Drain Punch. So he is a bulky set. I don't know how much bulk you need to take 53 from, what was that, +5 behind Reflect at +1 or whatever. I didn't bother calcing. All I knew is that he was definitely bulky. So, so I had to kind of think, right? I had to think on my feet here. What is my most direct form of damage, and how do I consistently make progress here? Because I don't want to choke this. If I lose this, I'm deleting the channel. I'm quitting Mons. I can't show my face after this. So, I go into, that's right, NDM, the other Trick Room Abuser, Terra Ground, and Earthquake for a fat 39% as he clicked Bulk Up again. Now the issue here is that Drain Punch heals just about as much as I'd be doing with Earthquake. So I do 28, Drain Punch actually heals more, right, because he's at +2. I didn't consider that when I was thinking about how much he would heal in relation to how much damage I'm doing, but yeah. But the good thing now is that I'm at 13%. So if he kills me with Drain Punch, he doesn't even heal that much, and I take, 25 min off him, right? He clicks Flame Charge, and then I come in with Miraidon. So I still have, I don't have my Terra, but my idea here is that, okay, the sun is gone, Drain Punch shouldn't be doing that much, even at +2. And, if, as long as it doesn't kill me, he doesn't heal enough so he'll be in range of Electro Drift. I don't think he's a Dragon move because, they'd probably want to run Taunt on this set for something like, one of the Trick Room abusers. And a lot of this was just going off feel. You kind of have to do that with unconventional sets because a lot of knowledge, because a lot of plays you make in metagames you understand pretty well are predicated on, sets that are widely understood. I look at his team. My plan was, I planned around DD Arceus Ground because, it's standard and I know why it's used and I know where it's used and I know what it's used for. Bulk up Koraidon, I just kind of had to, this was, these last few turns were improvised, but I kind of had to just play on my feet, and I'm glad I was able to do that. I lived the Drain Punch, and Electro Drift takes him out, and I win the match. Putting my team at 4-2. So I felt pretty good about that because, that was the first kind of thing I'd won in quite some time. It'd been a few weeks, so I was glad to finally have that. My opponent played super well, really kept me on my toes, and it was super fun. I've played some high-level Ubers players before, and it's always been a good time. Taka, Oreo, guys like that. It's fun, playing people at the high level like that. It's a lot more fun than if they just pulled some random Ubers player from their server. It was like, here, whatever, we'll just throw this guy in because he kind of knows Ubers. That wouldn't have been as fun. This was great. It was engaging. A very fun match. As much as I snowballed with Calyrex, that still took a lot of planning and thinking it through, and it was just a very skill intensive match, and it was very, I do think the better player won there. That's not to gloat, but I played better and I won. I'm proud of how I played. I think, barring that one turn with Calyrex into Grimmsnarl, and even then you could argue, Glacial Lance was a fine play there because, it could have gone Koraidon and then you would have Trick Room for nothing or whatever. And then he would have had the screen support alive still, but whatever. I'm super proud of how I played. GG's to Amy. You're not watching this, but that was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So that is all. Those are all the replays I have to analyze here. I will try to grow from this in the future. And I think that is all I have to say. And it just turned midnight for me. So with that, I bid you... What did I say? I don't know. Whatever, this is so scuffed.